Thank you, Mark. It's really always wonderful to be here. And I just want to offer a blessing to you, Mark, for holding this space for probably way longer than you thought and creating an amazing community of people all around the country. It's quite a machaya, really. It's quite something. This morning, I want to teach briefly from the parasha, this week's Torah portion, and then I look forward to sitting with you. It's called Ki-Tisa. It's towards the end of the book of Exodus. It's a doozy. A lot happens. I want to focus on one scene, the top of Har Sinai, Mount Sinai. Moses is up there with God, and God is angry because God knows that down below they're creating a golden calf, and both God and Moses have anger management issues. And Moses, jumps in the breach and convinces God not to destroy everyone. And then Moses takes the luchot hidut, the two stone tablets, the divinely carved stone tablets that have the Aseret Dibrot, the 10 Commandments on them. And he starts down the mountain. He gets pretty much down the mountain. He sees the golden calf. His anger blazes, and he hurls the tablets to the ground, shattering them at the foot of the mountain. Some violence ensues, and then he goes up for a redo. He gets a second set. There's a lot we could learn here, like the toxicity of anger, for example. But I actually want to focus on a one-liner from the Talmud, which is this: Luchot v'shivrei luchot munachim be'aron. The broken tablets were placed in the Holy Ark along with the whole tablets. So if you remember, like the picture of the Israelites marching in the wilderness, and before them were these guys holding these poles with the Ark of the Covenant on those poles, and inside, according to this story, you have the whole tablets and also the broken bits of the first set of tablets. To me, this is one of the most profound teachings of our tradition, the sense of the broken and the whole side by side. It's profound for me because it's a metaphor for the human condition, that we're all both broken and whole. So, like, for example, my kids, I have twins, they're about to turn 26, and they're healthy and doing well. And they're such a blessing in our life. It's also true that we really struggled to have them and thought for quite a while we wouldn't have kids. And when I think about that period in our life, I feel how broken we felt. And then when I think about them now, I also really celebrate the wholeness that we feel. And then, of course, there's all these people that struggle and can't have kids, and what pain that is for them. This is a metaphor for who we are. We are broken and we're whole. We are human. We make mistakes. We fall down. We falter. And we are B'Tselem Elohim. We're created in God's image. We are material. We come in and out of existence. And thus we're vulnerable to all manner of suffering and illness. And we're also gifted with a divine spark, a neshama, soul, a holy essence that cannot be extinguished. The broken and the whole. That's what it means to be human. I want to pause for a second and just give you a moment to think about this in your own neshama, in your own soul, in your own life. The sense of broken but also whole. Because I imagine for some of you today, the broken part is most present. Pain, suffering, loss, worry. And maybe others are celebrating today something very whole in their life. A birthday, an anniversary, a trip, some real blessing. I know when I speak to groups I don't know, I can look out over the room and know that someone's suffering with addiction, someone just lost a loved one, someone has a birthday, someone's, going to dinner with a friend. The broken, the whole exists in all of us and in every situation. One gift of meditation is the ability to sit with, I would say, befriend this truth of the human condition, the broken and the whole within every one of us. To sit with these feelings, all of them, and in the process to realize that broken is often a narrative choice. a story we tell about our suffering. Sad, ill, disappointed, distraught, is not the same as being broken. Breaking, in this sense, is forgetting that the whole also resides in us. That is, the famous Hasidic Rabbi Simcha Bunam taught, though I am but dust and ashes, for my sake, the world was created. So what I want to do is sit with you all now, and I want to give you permission to ignore all my instructions. And I have some phrases that I use with this meditation that may be helpful to you. There's a Hebrew word in them, hineni, which really resonates in the Torah and means, like, here I am, all of me right now. But again, you can ignore my instructions. I often ignore my instructions, or at least other people's instructions. Let's go ahead and close your eyes. Or if you prefer, have a soft gaze maybe towards the ground. And find yourself in as comfortable and upright position as possible. Open and upright if you can. Now let's feel into the body. You might imagine you were like a leaf floating down into your very being. Sensing yourself sitting in a chair, or lying on the floor, or on a cushion. Feeling your feet on the floor. The support of the chair on your back or your tush. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling any tension you're holding in the body. Let's not work too hard. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling any tension in the body. Being easy and kind on yourself. Letting go of the worry of whether you're doing this right or not. And now let's rest our attention on our breathing process. Just finding a place to rest in the breath. Maybe the rising of the belly, or the feeling of the air going over your nostrils or your lips. Easy, normal breathing. It helps to smile. If you'd like, you can try this set of phrases. Broken, whole, hineni, here I am. 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 I'm going to be quiet now. When you get lost in thought, just come back to breathing and appreciate that as a moment of awareness. If emotions come that are hard, put your hand on your heart, holding yourself like a mother holds an infant. Just being together is a machaya, a blessing and healing. We have just a few minutes left. And if you would like, send blessings to people, maybe the people sitting here with us today around the country, maybe to your family or friends, maybe to someone very specific in your life, or maybe just to yourself. Whatever the blessing you'd like to send, may you be safe. May you be free from suffering. May you be happy. Whatever it is, just take a last minute or so here and bless somebody or someone's in your life. From your heart to theirs. You might imagine you're a beacon of blessing, radiating blessings from your heart to the world. Turn it over to Mark now.
Thank you so much, Rabbi George Gittleman. That beautiful, gentle practice, just perfect for entering into Shabbat together. And friends, we, as always, we seal that practice by offering an opportunity for those of you who are in mourning or observing a yard site, or if it's your custom to participate in the Kaddish, to do so. And if you'd like to put the name or names of those you're holding in your heart or honoring today in the chat box, you're welcome to do that now or after you recite Kaddish. For those who are not reciting Kaddish, we continue our practice by staying present, by offering the blessing of support and compassion for those who are. It's an opportunity for us to create a minyan together of support and compassion for mourners who are invited to join me in rising in body or in spirit. I'll share the words on the screen, and you're invited to rise in body or in spirit to join me.
Ramam Viet Nase Viet Hadar Viet Ale Viet Halal Shane de Kudisha Breakthrough Le Kolberhata Shrata Tushbehata Amen. Mama Rabba Min Chanaya
Amen.
Amen.
Ose Shalom Bimramav. Huyase Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen.
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 Friends, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, just a reminder that because of President's Day on Monday, we will not be meeting for our live meditation, nor will there be the live yoga session. However, of course, as you know, all our sessions, all our practices are live streamed on our YouTube channel. Recordings of every session are posted there as well. So please avail yourself of the opportunity to engage in practice using this or any of the meditations or yoga or Torah study sessions that have been meaningful for you. And we'll be back with you on Tuesday. And I will share with you, we have a wonderful lineup of teachers for next week. As I mentioned, no set on Monday, but then Mira Neshama Nicolescu will be with us to lead us on Tuesday. Our dear friend, Rabbi Jordan Ben Dadapel, who, by the way, initiated this meditation, which when it was pre-pandemic, it was a weekly meditation, will be with us to lead us on Wednesday. Thursday, Rebecca Goldsmith, and on Friday, Rabbi Sam Feinsmith will lead us into Shabbat together. So we have a really special week of teachers next week. I want to thank Rabbi George Gittleman of Congregation Shomer Torah, Santa Rosa, California. George, always a pleasure, and just a very sweet way to enter Shabbat, as I mentioned. Anyone who's able and interested is welcome to stand for a few minutes of conversation with George about today's teaching or to share reflections. If you're leaving us, I want to wish you a sweet Shabbat, a wonderful weekend, long weekend for many, not all, but hope you have a wonderful and restorative Shabbat, and we hope to see you next Tuesday when we practice with Mira Neshama Nicolescu. And if you do have a question, if you're staying on, if you have a question for Rabbi Gittleman, you can put it in the chat box and try to keep an eye on it. And George, I want to just appreciate
the chat is disabled.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and for the blessing, which I appreciated. It's totally an honor and huge blessing for me to be in the position to be here with everybody almost every day. And also it's just like an enormous pleasure to get to practice with the variety of people who teach, including you. And I want to lift up, I think, a couple of things that you offered in your guidance today, which I think, for me at least, and I imagine for others, really make a difference. They really make a difference. They seem like small things that make a big difference. You said at some point, don't work so hard at this, You reminded us that if hard feelings arise when you're in the midst of this practice, bring a hand to your heart and bring some self-compassion. You reminded us that, there's no such thing as doing this right or doing it perfectly. And if your mind drifts away or get distracted or whatever, you reminded us, I guess, in short, that this is as much an exercise in cultivating self-compassion towards self and others as it is in concentration or paying attention. I think when people hear meditation, they think, oh, that's about learning to pay attention. It's learning about concentrate. It's about learning to be present. And I guess, to some extent that there's some truth in that, but, each of us, I don't know all the details of your history of your association with this practice, but I do know you have a personal relationship with Sylvia Borstein, who was the teacher who first introduced me to it. And I do know that element of teaching of compassion and kindness towards self and others just shines through. So I want to invite you just to say a few words about that, what that's meant for you as a practitioner and how you use it in your own teaching. And I see a lot of hands, which is fantastic, but I just want to remind people that we take the questions by chat. So if you can put it in the chat box, I'll be happy to relay it to George.
Chat is disabled.
Chat is disabled.
Chat is disabled, Mark.
There you go, George.
People. There's a
I
lot
guess
of
the chat is disabled. Wow, that's a lot, Mark. Thanks. I think what I realize is that most of us come to meditation because we want to feel better. We suffer. And self-compassion seems to be at the center of relieving.
Excuse me, there's too much noise.
Someone needs to be muted.
People need to mute themselves and enable the chat.
Oh, sorry. That's the problem.
Yes.
Can you mute all and disable the chat?
Got it. I got it. Thanks, friends. Here. Talk about compassion.
There we go.
There we go. Sorry about that. We're without ID Stein, as you probably can tell, yesterday and today. So thanks for bearing with me as I handle the tech today.
Great job. So what I was saying is that most of us come to this meditation because we suffer and we want some relief. And then from that, other windows open. And at the heart of the matter is compassion for self and other. I think maybe that's the whole Torah, really.
Mm-hmm.
So for many years, all I did was loving kindness practice, blessings practice, because I realized that, and I mostly was working on myself because I realized my ability to love others was directly related to my ability to love and accept myself. Many years ago, Sylvia asked me, do I love myself? And I said, I thought about it and I said, no, and I started to cry. And she said, I do. And she didn't mean it in a narcissistic way. She meant that it's possible through practice to learn to accept yourself. I'm still struggling with it, but I'm always reminded of that. And so that's the heart of the practice, I think.
Yeah.
Also, I've been practicing since I was a kid, and I still feel like I don't know how to practice. So if that's true, I'm just assuming many, many other people out there are going out, I'm not doing this right and struggling. And so I have to remind myself not to struggle, that just showing up is the blessing. And since that's true for me, I try to remember that it's probably true for many other people.
Yeah. Well, thanks for leading with the thanks for leading with vulnerability, and with honesty. And I certainly relate to that. There's a question, which is, I think, variation of the question. Another question I was going to ask you. First of all, I think everybody should know that tradition. about that the ark had both the broken tablets and the whole tablets, right? As a metaphor for our being broken and whole at the same time. Mir Diamond is asking, can you speak to how broken things sometimes can become whole again, like bones, which I guess, heal, or homes destroyed and are rebuilt, but with scars of the breaking, with evidence of the breaking there.
Beautiful. So, well, like the example that I gave of my children, we didn't think we could have children, and we went through years of struggle and suffering, and they're very whole, and we're very blessed. But if I scratch through the surface of those feelings about them, it doesn't take long for me to remember what the struggle was like and how it felt not to be blessed with them.
Mm-hmm.
Here I live in the fire zone. The climate crisis has arrived here, and the fire came 6 blocks from my house last time, and neighborhoods around me are burned. Places where I spend in nature are burned, and many of them have come back. And so if you didn't know they burned, you couldn't tell. But if you walk like I do in the wilderness there, you can see like what oak trees have survived, or the dead carcass, trunk of those that have fallen. So I think actually everywhere you look, you can see both the broken and the whole in ourselves, and also in the natural world. It's part of being human. It's part of being material. My only caution is that I do think sometimes life can break you. And it may be, I had this conversation with Rabbi Jeff Roth, it may be that that's a narrative that we choose, that we're not actually broken because we rest in the divine, because impermanence is reality. But I'm just cautious about that, and want to recognize that sometimes life is really hard. And woe for me to say that, oh, you're not really broken, you just don't know it. I would never say that. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's
yeah, it's a great answer. It's a great answer. I want to thank Cheryl Shapiro for lifting up the Kotzker Rebbe's teaching that there's nothing so whole as a broken heart. It's another great variation on the theme. There is a question. This is a good question, hard question. What does it feel like to love yourself? What is it? I mean, that's probably a question we can put to each of us. And I love that Sylvia asked you that question, and that you were able to answer honestly, and also to hear her answer as not, it could be a narcissistic answer, but it's not necessarily. It's about this idea of really accepting ourselves in our totality, right? Of our,
self-acceptance. I would, just asking that question, I would want you to put your hand on your heart, like I'm doing now, and maybe bring up a picture of, for me, there's this image of a mother holding an infant that I learned from Thich Nhat Hanh that seems beautiful to me, or helpful also. We hold ourselves like that. So it feels warm, it feels good, and it feels without anxiety or fear. It feels loving. That's how it feels.
Well, it's been said many times now in the chat box. That's why they call it practice, right? We are, which is just to circle back where we started before we come to a close here. We really can frame this practice, especially it's daily practice, as just coming back to that question: what does it feel like? What would it feel like to accept myself? What would it feel like? Not abstractly, but what would it actually feel like? And that's why, your suggestion to put, when you said put your hand over your heart, as a mother would hold a baby, right? That is very powerful for people, to have that lived experience. What's it like to be to allow the aspect of ourselves that is it's so deeply vulnerable, like a baby. It's so dependent, to feel held securely and lovingly, right? That's what it feels. If we can touch that experience, then we can build on that.
Lifelong practice. I might also suggest that in awareness, sometimes when we can, it's called bitul yesh, kind of a nullification of the self, or when we can drop away from our own sense of self, our separateness, sometimes we can feel greater awareness. And that greater awareness, that's another way to feel self-love. For me, it's very fleeting, but when it happens, it feels like grace to me. Chesed, chen, kindness, grace, like a gift.
Well, that is the theme of the week in the Parsha, as we know, right? Because this is what is revealed to Moses. These 13 midot, 13 qualities, variations on the theme of compassion and forgiveness. And for all the talk that we hear, and that and basis for this idea of the wrathful, angry, judgmental God of the Old Testament, quote unquote, we also have this amazing passage in Torah where Moses says to God, "Hey, what are you all about?" And God says, "Well, you want to know? Okay, love and compassion, right?" And it's up to us to lift that up.
One last thing that's been helpful to me is I try to remember this prayer we say in the morning. My God, the soul you have given me is pure. So I try to remember when I'm really down on myself that no, actually, I have this pure essence given to me that I cannot sully or cannot be sullied or taken from me. And there's been times in my life when that's been really helpful to know that prayer. Elohai neshama shematata bi tahorahi. My God, the soul you've given me is pure. They're all just suggestions. I hope they help.
Thank you, George. Those are all great suggestions. I don't know if you want to put, there's a request just if there's availability of other talks or meditations or teachings from you. Do you want to put your shul's website or any other?
Sure. It's just congregationshomrei-torah.org, I think. But there's more than one. So just I'll just put, try that. And if you don't get the right one,
Santa Rosa.
There you go. That'll work.
Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa. All right, George, my friend, beautiful job as always. A beautiful entry into Shabbat. So everyone,
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, sweet Shabbat, and Mazel Tov for the Brit that's coming up. George, you're going to?
Yeah, right now.
That's right. Simon Tov and Mazel Tov to us, and Shabbat